Iran is just getting too much, and Trump can't take a loss. This is all just posturing.
Fund funded by Gulf allies. That's false.
It's false.
Is there
People, you can invest if you want. I mean, what am I going to do? Say nobody's ever allowed to invest?
What am I going to do? Say nobody's allowed to invest? Yes, that's exactly what we did. We sanctioned them for years. There's $12 billion right now we confiscated and said, hey, if anybody deals with Iran, guess what? We gonna plummet you. So what is he talking about?
Do you want me to say nobody's ever allowed to invest in a country? I'll say it with Egypt. Nobody's allowed to invest in Egypt. Am I supposed to say that?
I'm asking whether
We are not investing in it, and we do not have a fund.
Are you asking Gulf countries?
No, I'm not. I'm not. If they do it, fine. But I would say they won't be doing it for a while until they find out the behavior.
That's a fact. We're not. But we are allowing them to make up to $20 to $30 billion. Let me explain.
Uncertain deal, and Iran certainly enters its period of maximum leverage. This was on June 15th. You said despite the headlines, this deal remains highly uncertain.
The deal is not just uncertain. It will never, ever happen under these terms. Let me explain. So this is what he's talking about with maximum leverage. They will be in a much stronger position if all this carries through. Even if we get the nuclear uranium, it doesn't matter. They will have built more bridges with allies and made more money they've ever made in their history. Now let's talk about the $300 billion investment fund, not government grants or reparations, designed to rebuild Iranian infrastructure, specifically the energy and transportation. You know, all them bridges that we blew up, the refineries, the water distillation plants, things like that. This means international businesses will finance projects in Iran in exchange for economic incentives, but only, and I mean only, if Tehran meets strict nuclear and security commitments. Didn't we promise that before with Obama's thing? But then we came out and said that, no, we think y'all enriching uranium to the point of a nuclear weapon, although all of our investigations into that says you're not.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Once again, that will never function properly. No deal. I mean, because has the United States ever paid reparations for a war? Yeah, so I asked ChatGPT, and this is what it said. No, the United States has never paid war reparations for the destruction caused during the Vietnam War. Our President Richard Nixon vaguely promised $3.25 billion. Sound familiar? In post-war reconstruction aid under the 1973 Paris Peace Accords. The U.S. later reneged, citing, of course, violations. Now, the other thing is this. The Nixon pledge in 1973 Paris Peace Accords include a letter from Nixon promising U.S. aid for post-war reconstruction of North Vietnam. However, the U.S. Congress refused to approve the funds, and the promise was ultimately abandoned. So did it really have to do with sanctions or violations? No. Now, to be clear, a distinct track. This proposed investment fund is separate from the parallel talks regarding the unfreezing of Iranian assets held abroad or easing of wider trade sanctions. So, let me get it straight. So, no investment, no deal. No nuclear program, no deal.
2015, Iran agreed to put limits on its nuclear activities. In particular, it agreed to enrich its stockpile of uranium only up to a cap of 3.67%. On Sunday, the country decided to go beyond that cap, to 5%. So what's in that 1.33%, and why does it matter? Uranium found in the ground can't be used for much until it's enriched. Enriched uranium is used in nuclear reactors to generate electricity. Low enriched uranium, between 3 and 4%, can fuel a power plant. And it's a long way from the 90% needed for weapons-grade uranium.
Nuclear enrichment program that's really important. And the reason is that Iran had been enriching uranium up to 60% purity in recent months. That's a short technical step away from weapons grade levels. Now, Israel and the United States both bombed Iranian nuclear sites back in June during Israel's war on the country, and there had been questions about Iran's program. Araghchi said specifically that Iran was not enriching at any of its declared sites to the International Atomic Energy Agency, that's the UN's nuclear watchdog, and he also denied that Iran was enriching uranium at any so-called undeclared site.
Iran gained control of Hormuz after the bombing. We postured outside of the Strait of Hormuz to stop their tankers, which did nothing for the American commerce because our tankers were stopped also. Now Trump said the sanctions will not be lifted until we get full cooperation.
President Trump appeared to rule out negotiations with Iran, saying in part, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender.
Do we have full cooperation? No, I don't think so. Now he's saying we will lift the sanctions and allow Qatar to invest in Iran. So what was the point of the sanctions? Oh yeah, to cripple Iranians.
We already understand that with the deal, and this is completely agreed to by President Trump, Iran will be able to sell oil immediately. Well, that's $1 billion a week. Number two, we already know, and this is completely agreed to by President Trump, and you just heard him say it, that others can invest in Iran. That is, this idea that America would block or sanction countries for investment. This is important. We've had a tight focus on Iran where we put basically a ring around Iran. You can't do business in Iran or else we, America, we come punish you. Well, that of course has deterred quite a bit of business in Iran. That is just by what President Trump just said, now off the table. So that means all of those Gulf countries, Qatar, it can offer that $12 billion up front signing bonus. President Trump doesn't have to pay the money. Qatar is going to pay the money, completely in line with what the deputy foreign minister of Iran has said. Then you just go further and further, and what you are seeing here is you are seeing just with the early stages of the MOU, Iran is going to gain over this 60 days somewhere between 20 and 30 billion dollars, and there's no strings on what they can do with that money. They can give that money to Hezbollah, that is, they want Israel to pull out of Lebanon. Well, there's no quid pro quo, and Iran does not give missiles and drone technology to Hezbollah.
So now you're going to allow them to make more money than ever without getting the uranium. So that was the point of me reading that this deal had nothing to do with the other deal because it's in stages. But also they're saying this deal won't happen unless they give the uranium. But they want the Strait of Hormuz open, so we'll let them even call the money they'll make within the next 60 days. Let me explain something to you. The oil that is trapped in the Strait of Hormuz won't get to where it's going for 30 to 60 days, depending on how close it goes. And we're talking about our allied countries. Right now, those countries are running on reserves, and they're very, very low. Once it gets to the country, then it has to be refined and go into whatever product they want to make it into. Add another 30 days onto that. So we still be having high as hell gas prices while all this is going on. So we're looking at about 4 months down the line before something gives. And you and I both know that either Bibi or Trump is going to call foul, and the deal is off. The chances of this happening is 0 to none. Let me be clear. They can sign all the stuff they want. But then it's going to come down to the point of, hey, release the money. Well, I don't know. We got to get the uranium. But you said that'll be after the next 60 days. Yeah, I know, but we're really not sure about all that. This is a no-brainer. This is a no deal. And we're just posturing. What are we posturing for? We're trying to find a subtle solution to be able to get a win, because Trump never loses in his mind. Even when he does, he tries to turn it into a win. In no way, shape, or form can he turn this present deal into a win. So there's going to be escalation as soon as somebody falls. Either Iran says Israel falls by, breaking the ceasefire in Lebanon, or Donald Trump is going to say, oh, look, they blew up an Apache. There's no way Trump is going to allow this deal to go through, because it's no win. So he has to make a deal that will make him look like, chief and commander. And he cannot back out now. We're still finding a better solution. In my, personal opinion, we're just posturing to take out more of their radar systems, and eventually, this may last another 2 years. Do you know how long it took to get the last deal that Obama made? 2 years. I think 2.5 years. Obama was in office for 8. So, my hypothesis, this is just posturing. There will be no deal. There will be escalation first. Mark my words. I'm just saying,